Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the day, and it is Friday. I know we're in that awkward period where nobody quite knows what day of the week it is, but it is Friday, and Norwich City are in action this evening against Millwall here in the capital, and we're going to bring you the team news in about 45 seconds or so. Connor Southwell joined by Paddy Davitt. We, of course, want your comments, your questions, your score predictions. We want them all to come through during the next 10 minutes or so. Paddy, should we start with a little teaser? I mean, certain American international. Certainly, the noises are that he may well be making an appearance in the squad tonight.
That seems to be the way the telegraph is working. So we'll have confirmation shortly. But if so, that's a very good positive step. Potentially a Scottish individual in the centre of defence and another one in centre mid. So you can work that one out for yourself as well. And there we go. It
has just dropped, so we will bring you that team here. So Norwich City line up with Gunn in goal. Stacey, Bart, Gibson and McCallum is the back four. Sarah and McLean the midfield two, with Fashnacht and Hernandez on either wing. Barnes and Huang the front two. I'll just read that for you again. Gunn in goal, Stacey, Bart, Gibson and McCallum as the back four. Sarah and McLean as the midfield two. Fashnacht and Hernandez on either flank, with Ashley Barnes in support of Huang Yuzhou. The subs bench: George Long, Callum Fisher, Grant Hanley, Liam Gibbs, Shemiswav Proheta, Marcelino Nunez, John Rowe, Josh Sargent and Adam Eder. Paddy Davitt, we were told that there would be plenty of changes. There are plenty of changes. Your thoughts on that team selection?
Well, I mean, the centre-backs immediately. I mean, I was clearly of a mind once, as had been indicated and has been confirmed there, McLean went to centre mid. You thought Grant Hanley will come in alongside Duffy. Not a bit of it. He's gone Bart and Gibson. So
no Duffy in the squad.
No, noticed. Yeah, no Yanulis either. But Sargent is on the bench, so that's a great story. But feels a bit painting by numbers, really, if I'm honest, in the terms of 4 games in 9 days. This is the third one of those. 60 minutes at the Hawthorns against 10 men for Norwich, that is. And the fact that the quick turnaround time and maybe there's a lot of sports science thought gone into, what individual numbers are in terms of people in red zones over this period. And that, to me, is underpinning a lot of that because, Fashnacht and Hernandez, of course, science is suspended, so you'd felt one of those would come in. But Johnny Rowe to drop out, Wang to come in, Eder not to start the game, and then the two at centre-back. Gibson was, as we know, unavailable against West Brom. Had come off the bench against Huddersfield. He starts tonight. Danny Bart, a rare start for him. Fullbacks, I guess, once Yanulis isn't considered fit for duty tonight, we expect him to be in and around it for Southampton, but they pick themselves, I think, and if you go McLean one ahead, then Sarah's going to partner him. So I'm interested in the comments. And I wouldn't say they're overly. Yeah, that's what stopped me in my tracks there. I'm looking down at our comments, and we'll get to those in due course. But suffice to say, it hasn't gone down overly well. And as an exercise for putting 11 on the pitch to try and win a game tonight, setting aside about 3 games in whatever it is now, 6 days, 7 days, it doesn't set the pulse racing, does it, when you see that 11, Connor?
No, and I want to say I think that average age-wise is going to be pretty high again. Bart over 30, Gibson over 30, McLean over 30, Fashnacht, Hernandez, Barnes and Huang, all of that front four over 30 as well. That's going to be ranking pretty high, I suspect, and we'll see how it plays out. But those attacking areas, obviously, Borja Sainz isn't available tonight. He's suspended after his dismissal on Boxing Day at West Brom. He's also taken Johnny Rowe out of the fight. Now, we were talking about this in the car a little bit. He got pulled off at half-time on Boxing Day, but I think even including that Ipswich derby, there has looked a little bit of fatigue around him and his game in recent weeks. There was a moment, actually, on Boxing Day, he chased someone back down just in front of us, and it wasn't that long into the game, maybe 25, 30 minutes in, and he almost kind of keeled over and had his hands on his knees and was really blowing. So whether that's come into it, but let's start with a forward line. Fashnacht and Hernandez back in. Hernandez, as has been well documented, has struggled for productivity this season. Christian Fashnacht maybe hasn't been able to replicate those levels of performances that we saw at the start of the Championship campaign. Need to see a little bit more out of those two individually, but also as a collective attacking unit tonight, don't we?
Well, it feels we're back to where we were pre-Sainz and Rowe coming in, which is you look down at that forward four and you don't see a huge amount of creativity, thrust, drive, dynamism, goals, assists. And we're back there again tonight. Fashnak, Hernandez, Barnes and Hwang. I mean, Hwang, to give him his due, prior to his injury, that tremendous goal he scored at Watford and following on from the goal he scored at QPR, started to show signs that, he had something about him. He had the best chance, then he late on at West Brom. Great save from the keeper. So maybe it's a bit harsh to lump him in, but the other three over this 6-week period, whenever they've had an opportunity, they've not really shown enough, certainly in comparison with Science and John Rowe. And your point on John Rowe, I think, is a fair one. He does look, since he came back from that, it was a heel issue, wasn't it? Yeah. And there was a period there they wasn't quite sure maybe how to treat it and get to the bottom of it. And you'd speak to David Wagner, and it was, well, we don't know when he'll be back and available. We're not quite sure. And okay, he came back, and we know what he did at Portman Road. But if I take that out, he hasn't really. He's certainly not the John Rowe of that first 8-9 game burst of the season, and that is a concern. But if this part of the discussion is about, are you confident that front four will create enough tonight? No, is the honest answer. And that's even before you get into the situation at centre back. Are we sure that Bart and Gibson?
Yeah, it's not a pairing that we've seen so far this season. Gibson obviously wasn't involved in Boxing Day, and he's recently become a dad. And I think the circumstances, not that we need to delve into that, have been pretty difficult. But Danny Bart, I don't think has started a game since that Watford defeat, unless I'm still corrected. It's kind of after that Kenny McLean has come in. There are limitations with him in terms of possession. I think that's fair to say. But Ben Gibson is a lot better on the ball on that left side.
He is. So in that respect, if we're talking about you've taken Kenny out of the mix there and Ben Gibson goes in, we won't get into the defensive concerns, but certainly with the ball at his feet and the balance on the left-hand side, he shouldn't be too far removed from Kenny McLean. But, for me, this season, maybe the last couple of seasons, I don't think he is the player he was when he first arrived, Ben Gibson, and that is a concern. And, what I don't know, because I haven't seen enough of them under this new manager at Millwall, is this the Millwall of old? Is it the Neil Harris, Gary Rowett approach where it's very physical, direct, balls into the box? And if so, you're probably thinking Hanley would be better served. But given Grant, I'm sure the plan wasn't the other night for him to play 45. Maybe that's just a little bit of a conservative approach. You don't want him to break down again, do you, when he's been out for so long? So Shane Long not in the 20, you have to think that's a fitness-related issue. I don't see any scenario why you would have taken him out of the 20 completely. So we'll get into that post-match, obviously, but we'll see pretty early on, I think, what is this Millwall? Is it a little bit more refined and a bit more ball on the floor and try and play through Norwich? Or if it is trying to pound away, that would concern me, because I don't think Gibson necessarily against that type of opponent is the best centre-back Norwich have got on the books.
Yes, let's bring you this Millwall team then before we maybe come on to the subs bench. Here it is. They've got Sarkic in goal, Norton, Cuffy, Cooper, Hutchison and Wallace as their back four. Saville, Imaku and Leonard as the midfield three, with Fleming and Honeyman behind Tom Bradshaw. A lot of names familiar maybe to Norwich City fans from that team that pushed for the top six last season. It was only, March, April time that we were here last, and this was a real top six kind of contending clash. Neither side ended up in the top six at that point. One huge glaring positive in this matchday squad, and we'll come on to Marcelino Nunez in a moment, but Josh Sargent back in the matchday squad, probably quicker than everyone anticipated. Fantastic to see him back.
It is, and I saw a tweet about an hour ago, and almost like the Norwich Nation is pinning their hopes on this guy to...
No pressure.
No pressure, on you go, son. To try and catalyst something to get this team actually not just a point or 2 points in and away from the top six, but realistically in contention, which I don't think too many feel they are realistic contenders, whatever the league table says at this moment in time in terms of the points differential. But he is the one, because you look at Norwich pre-Sargent's injury and Norwich post-Sargent injury, and it's night and day, really, in terms of, not just the results, performances, but what they were trying to do. There was a clear, for me, sense of identity with and without the ball with Sargent at the top end of the pitch, and that really hasn't been the case since he was removed from the side, unfortunately, with that injury he got at Huddersfield. It is a big ask to come straight back in. I mean, he only trained fully on Christmas Day, and, you'd like to hope we don't need to see him tonight, because if we don't have to see him tonight, then Norwich are probably doing what they need to do in terms of the players already on the pitch. but I don't think he's going to have a long time to bed in. I think they're going to have to rely on him pretty soon because he is such a pivotal player and showed, I think he was 3 goals in his first 4 championship games this season. I know he had aspirations when he signed his new deal pre-injury. Actually, that was after his injury, wasn't it? And he was talking about his targets to be the top scorer in the championship. That's probably not going to be the case now because of the period he's had out, but there's no doubt if he can pick up where he left off, there's a player who can still probably end up 15 goals or so this season. And if he could deliver that sort of productivity, then it has to drag Norwich's collective level up. And great to see him back. Yeah, you just hope now that that's him free of injury for the rest of the season, get him back in his side, whether it's with Barnes alongside him, whether it's with Ida, Hwang, or he goes something a bit more nuanced with Asara or Nunes. That Norwich start to get back to the Norwich we saw in that first 8 or 9 game spell, when I think justifiably we felt they would be in the top 6 conversation. I don't think too many would say that is the case now.
Yes. How do you see this going, Paddy? It's an interesting 11, a much rotated 11. I think there comes a point during this festive period, and Wagner kind of teed it up, to be fair, when there's so many games in so many periods where you have to rotate. I probably wasn't expecting Norwich to go quite that levels of rotation, but nonetheless they have. It's always difficult coming here, even though their home record hasn't been great. They were 2-0 victors over QPR on Boxing Day. How do you see Norwich City faring tonight?
Well, it's hard to be optimistic when I see that front 4, if I'm brutally honest. I have to reserve slight judgment to repeat what I said. I don't really know too much about how Joe Edwards is going about the task. He's only 8-9 games into the job, but they'll be confident after beating QPR earlier in the week. So I'm going to sit on the fence, I think, for this one. I did think they might get beat, actually, tonight, Norwich. But now I've seen Sargent, now Rose there, now Ida's there. You would think there's enough in terms of game changers now on that bench if he needs to go that route, that they'll get something tonight. But I fear it'll probably be a score draw, and that really doesn't advance their cause too much. What about you, Connor?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of said to you, and similarly in the school of thought to you, I thought tonight would be difficult, and I still think it might be difficult. I just hope they can maybe keep themselves in it. So I'm going to optimistically, I think, go for a 1-1 draw. I think that's what I'm going to go for.
Hello, Roger.
Hello, Roger from sunny Florida. Indeed, and of course, thank you to everybody who have watched these broadcasts over the entirety of this year. It's Norwich City's final game of 2023. I mean, just to read you their record, Paddy, we might actually end with your thoughts. I do love this stat, just because it's so interesting. Norwich City's 2023 record, played 49, so it's their 50th game of the year tonight. They've won 19, drawn 9, lost 21. Goals scored and goals conceded, both 69, 66 points. And of course, David Wagner took charge of 48 of those 49 games. It's not the best record, and probably quite, as I think I saw you put in a headline earlier, a forgettable year for Norwich City.
Yeah. Well, yeah, definitely not a vintage. That's for sure. Not a vintage 12 months. I mean, you taking out the calendar element, you extrapolated if this is continuing now over the rest of this season, they finish a point better than last season. Which I guess if you want to package that as progress, it's very very limited progress. Yeah, and it would probably equate to around the top 10 and 11th, and let's be honest, a second consecutive mid-table championship finish is nowhere near what this club expect, what the 2,000 or so demand here tonight. So, more questions than answers, and that is bang average, those 2012, 2023 stats, and that's unfortunately where Norwich are at the minute. They're just a bang average championship team and squad until we see a sustainable sample to tell us otherwise. Under this head coach, this group of players, past the halfway mark of the season now, they're just a very average championship team.
They are indeed. Let's just Happy New Year to you all. Yeah, that's nice. Well, hopefully tonight it all changes. That's the narrative we'll adopt. Just to run through that Norwich City team one last time then before we finish this broadcast. Gunn in goal, Stacey, Bart, Gibson and McCallum are the back 4. Sarah and McLean in the midfield 2. Fashnacht and Hernandez on either flank, with Ashley Barnes behind Hwang Yu-Zhou. And to end on Adam's prediction, 4-0, Ashley Barnes hat-trick and Hwang with a goal. We'll take that. Thank you very much for watching throughout this year, and let's hope Norwich City close 2023 in style. Have a good one.